Based in Chicago, Illinois, Letters to Santa provides direct assistance to families facing urgent financial hardship. They organize live fundraising events featuring legendary musicians, comedians, and improvisers. Their operating budget is paid for by benefactors, a small group of donors committed to covering their administrative costs so that 100% of all public donations received are used in program initiatives. Letters to Santa partners with other nonprofit organizations to identify economically disadvantaged families who are then given the opportunity to write letters addressing 3 questions. If you could receive any gift for you and your family this holiday season, what would it be? If you had one chance to tell your story to someone who wants to answer your letter, what would you share? If your letter is answered, how would it transform your life? Letters to Santa respond to every letter, surprising families on their doorsteps with armloads of gift requests, typically warm clothing or beds for their children, plus food, toys, household necessities, a computer for every child, a tablet for the letter writer, and an unconditional financial gift of $10,000 for ongoing expenses. No strings attached. Make a donation to Letters to Santa today at letterscharity.org.
Hey, this is Nicole calling from Hamilton, and I needed to let everyone know that I really proudly support Vish and Creative Control. I have for many years, I will for many more, as long as he keeps delivering these amazing interview podcasts. When you hear one of Vish's interviews, you think he's known this guest for years, they're good friends, but the truth is he approaches every interview, whether it's sort of up-and-coming indie artists or established icons or like famous, intimidating comedians with a really deep, genuine curiosity, so he's never met this person, and the same really warm candor, as so he's known them forever. I think it really lends to a great chat, no matter who he's talking to, and for that reason, I think you should throw Vish, $1 a month? He's got jokes. The jokes make it worth it. Support Creative Control on Patreon.
To make your flexible monthly donation to Creative Control, please visit patreon.com/Creative Control today. I'm Vish's wife, and remember, when you name a dog Janet or Timothy, you are dragging humanity down just a little bit.
Weird Al Yankovic is an iconic and award-winning musician, comedian, actor, filmmaker, author, producer, and very nice person, currently based in Los Angeles in his home state of California. Since emerging as a satirical songwriter and pop culture parodist in the mid-1970s, Yankovic shot to stardom thanks to his eagle-eyed, humorous adaptations of songs, music, videos, and other pop culture phenomena, which tend to be made in silly and good-natured fun, though they almost always possess a punk-infused irreverence and take some aim at self-importance. He has sold millions of albums and won Grammy and Emmy Awards, and his last proper album, 2014's Mandatory Fun, was the first comedy album in history to debut at #1 on the Billboard Albums chart. To celebrate Mandatory Fun's 10th anniversary, Yankovic released his first proper single in some years now on July 19th, 2024. Comprised of a medley of Yankovic and his band interpreting hit songs from the past decade or so, the song is called Polkamania, and it prompted Al and I to have our first conversation in about 10 years, in which we discussed things like life in Los Angeles, why the relative popularity of vinyl has not caused him to waver on his stance of not making any more full-length albums, the surprising popularity and critical acclaim for the 2022 biopic Weird, the Al Yankovic Story, and his bond with that film's actor, Daniel Radcliffe. What keeps him busy beyond music? Chasing the EGOT. His love for sketch comedy and perspective projects in that vein, touring again, other future plans, and much more. A part of the Lionsgate Sound Network with the support of listeners like you who follow and subscribe to this listener-supported and donor-driven podcast. Spread the word about it leave nice reviews and ratings on your podcast platform, and make flexible monthly donations at patreon.com/creativecontrol, which is the primary and most reliable way for a podcaster like me to make a living, and where a monthly subscription of $6 American or its currency equivalent means you can access every single episode of this show in its entirety, which is not the case without that $6 monthly subscription. Indeed, the episode you're listening to now, if you don't have that $6 monthly subscription, you'll only hear an excerpt of the conversation I had with Weird Al Yankovic. But if you subscribe to the Patreon, you'll hear the whole thing. As I say, every other episode falls into this category, and this is how I make a living, and it's going well. People are stepping up. You're very kind to support me and my work and to keep this show going. So if you haven't already done so and you feel like supporting me in the show and hearing every single episode in its entirety, again, please, if you can, visit patreon.com/creativecontrol and become a monthly $6 or higher subscriber today. Thanks again. With additional support from Blackbird Music, a wonderful record store with 2 locations in Edmonton and Calgary, Alberta, and a great website, blackbird.ca, where you can special order records. You can order anything you want, and they'll either keep it at the store for you if you want to come by and pick it up, or they'll ship it right to your house. Now, in this case, I can't tell you to order Weird Al's new single, Polkamania, because it's not available in any physical format, and you might get to hear why Al feels this doesn't have a lot of physical media these days in just a moment as you listen to us have a chat. But his other records, his back catalog, they're available. So if you want to order some older Weird Al Yankovic albums, visit blackbird.ca and type it in and see if you can't get a copy of what you're looking for. Plus in-kind support from independent businesses like Pizza Trocadero, The Bookshelf, and Planet Bean Coffee, respectively in Guelph, Ontario, and Granddad's Donuts in Hamilton, Ontario. Who doesn't like donuts? This is episode 894 of Creative Control, featuring the lovely and talented Weird Al Yankovic, with your host, me, Vish Khanna. Please enjoy this excerpt from our conversation, and to hear the whole thing, again, subscribe to the show at patreon.com/creativecontrol.
Next, thank you. Next, thank you. Next, super duper grateful for my ex. I say yeah, too late. Got nothing in my brain. That's what people say.
Now, for those who don't know, Al, when was the last time you released a single?
It depends what you're considering a single, but I would say probably officially that would have been the Hamilton Polka back in 2018. Lin-Manuel Miranda asked me to do a song for his Hamel Drop series, where I had friends of his releasing songs inspired by the hit Broadway musical Hamilton, so I did the Hamilton Polka.
Oh, nice. Okay, so in a way, I mean, that's a considerable amount of time. 6 years. It's been a long time. And it's been 10 years since you released an album. And as I recall from our last conversation, we talked about this and how the album format you didn't think was the best suited for your aesthetic. Is that about right?
Yeah, and I still feel that that's the case. I mean, I said back even before I released Mandatory Fun that, once my record contract was fulfilled, that I wouldn't be probably pursuing any more conventional albums. And, it's a personal thing. I think that as a format, albums are slowly fading away. I mean, there are still obviously people that are, doing quite well selling albums, but it's just, not been my favorite way to get my music distributed. I like, and again, this sounds very ironic because I haven't exactly been super productive or prolific in the last 10 years recording wise. But I like having the freedom and the option of just putting out stuff whenever I feel like it, not having to wait until I have a dozen songs and just release them all at once.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think 10 years ago, you were definitely onto something about the album format. But Al, you pay attention to things. Vinyl. Vinyl is arguably the only real physical... Well, no, people still buy CDs. But since we last spoke, vinyl sales have definitively gone up. And that, to me, might be a testament to albums. Has that crossed your mind? Like, maybe the album isn't totally dead.
I think it's just a rise in the overall hipster population.
I see.
People
I see what you're saying. I know you're looking at my record collection right now. You think I'm some sort of hipster, Al? I like my records. It's great. It's like a historical documents. But no, you think that's what it is?
No, I don't know. I remember when vinyl was sort of like not hip. It was sort of like, oh, who wants vinyl anymore? Like, in fact, my wife talked me into getting rid of 95% of my vinyl collection because, oh, you've got it on a CD or you've got it digital. Like, why in the world would you want vinyl? Yeah. And I do see the charm and the appeal of vinyl. Personally, I do kind of like the idea of listening to music without surface noise and pops and ticks and scratches. But yeah, it's nice to be able to hold a 12-inch piece of vinyl in your hand and wobble it back and forth and hear the lovely sound it makes. That's great. I love that.
I still feel like you're insulting me. I just feel like this is all about me and my collection, and I don't know what I did to deserve this. Do you? Now, I understand what you said to me 10 years ago and what you said to everyone else about albums and the timeliness about what you do, but do you miss going into a studio with that scale of a project with your friends and to make an album? Do you miss it at all?
I mean, obviously certain parts of it. I mean, it's fun to release singles, but, when you release an album, it's really an event. It's a big deal. And, it's a major project. It's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of focus on you. It's like releasing a movie or any other major project. It's like, there's just a lot more eyeballs on you and, a lot of people that are, hopefully rooting for you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it feels kind of weird to like do a interview tour to promote a single, but that's sort of my only option at this point because I'm probably never going to be promoting an album again.
So you're still fixed on that, like that's what you said 10 years ago. Your mind hasn't changed.
I'm pretty stubborn that way. Like once I get an idea, it's kind of hard to talk me out of it. Yeah, I don't think I'm ever going to be doing. I mean, certainly there's special projects that will come along. I mean, there was a double LP soundtrack album to Weird the Al Yankovic Story that came out last year, or maybe was it 2022? I think maybe it was 2022. Yeah. But I mean, I had some tracks on that and a brand new song on there as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of like the traditional standard kind of Weird Al album that, that I'd been doing since the early 80s, I don't think I'm going to be doing any more of those. I want to just, do other things.
Okay. Now, this is all fair and well and good, and I appreciate this, but, we're here to celebrate a couple of different things. It's let's begin with Mandatory Fun. This is the album that you and I spoke about 10 years ago. It's a 10th anniversary. I don't know by what measure, but arguably, is that not your most successful album on a couple of different levels? Is that fair to say?
It is for me. It's by far my most successful album by every measure except actual sales.
Is that
because,
true?
Again, it is. Again, the album format. Here's another reason why. Like I'm not doing albums. I mean, Mandatory Fun, historical, unprecedented, groundbreaking. The first #1 comedy album in over 50 years at the time. Yeah. The first comedy album ever to debut at #1. Ostensibly my biggest hit ever. Did not even go gold.
Right.
And in the 90s, if an album didn't go gold, I thought, oh, my career's over. It's a huge flop.
Yeah.
But that's the way the whole industry is now. It's it's like a big deal if your record achieves that level. Whereas before, like if you're on a major label, it was just kind of taken for granted.
Yeah. As I recall, Mandatory Fun was due out and you were doing press and you were talking about how, oh, this will be it. This will probably be my last album. Not definitive. Do you think anything you said informed the wave of adulation you got, the Grammy, the #1 album? Do you think people are like, oh, Al, we love Al. Where's he going? What's going on? Let's celebrate Al. Do you think they were like, or do you have any perspective on why that particular record did as well as it did beyond the sales? Let's face it, Al, it tanked sales-wise. We've already established that. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. Do you have any perspective on why it was as successful as it was?
I mean, I can't give you a definitive reason. I mean, I like to think it's, if not my best album, certainly one of my best albums.
Yeah.
I think the way that we rolled it out was pretty smart. I had the idea of doing one music video premiere every day, for each day of release. And that got a lot of attention on it because, every morning at, 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern time, people are like, oh, the new Weird Al video is going to premiere. So it became like an event. Like every day for a week, there was a Weird Al event. So, and I promoted that thing to death. I mean, I did, the late night shows. I did a million interviews. I put everything I had into it, which I kind of always do, but this kind of felt like it might be the last time I get a chance to do this. So I put a little bit extra of myself into it, perhaps. But yeah, you never know when something's going to capture the public imagination, or, I never assume anything that I do is going to be popular. I just kind of do what I think would be fun and what I would enjoy to see or listen to, and hope that other people share that same opinion. But you just never know what's going to hit and what's not going to hit.
Yeah. I'm a little sad and delusioned to hear you did 1 million interviews. I thought I was special. I can't believe it.
You're my favorite one, though. So I want to make that very clear.
Oh, thank you, Al. Hey, thanks for listening to Creative Control, as always. As you may have heard me mention, I recently lost my day job, and I've had a few conversations with people since who've said, you had a day job? I thought your podcast was your day job. When I explained why it hasn't been my day job to a friend, he suggested I should share some of this information with people like you listening right now. So, in short, unless they have some giant exclusive $1 million contract, podcasters are not paid to make stuff by companies like Apple and Spotify. Podcasters do not make any money from streaming royalties. Ad revenue is dependent on a certain threshold of downloads each month, and even if your show is accessed 30,000 times a month, the income you get is actually really minimal. So podcasters like me usually make time in our lives to support our communities and our interests to make these shows, and our most reliable source of income for this work is in fact crowdfunding. In my case, it's my Patreon. So if you'd like to receive ad-free episodes earlier than everyone else, regular newsletters and blog posts, bonus audio content, and support my work, quite literally, please visit patreon.com/creativecontrol today. Thank you so much for listening to this excerpt from a recent episode of Creative Control with Vish Khanna. Every other Creative Control episode is only accessible to Patreon supporters. This is one of them. So please visit patreon.com/creativecontrol, become a subscriber today, and you won't miss a single episode in its entirety. There are links in the show notes to take you right there. So if you're able to, please do support this show and enjoy hours and hours of conversation. Thank you.